In a learning walk, the walkers come together for about an hour to go through the protocols. There's very strong protocols about how walkers proceed with the learning walks and visiting classrooms. And they have the discussion around what is it going to look like when we go into these classrooms? What are we looking for connected to our focus? The walkers visit the 4 classrooms. They have a little bit of a debrief between each visit, collecting their evidence and talking about perhaps a wondering that they could pose to that teacher. And then after that, they come together, put the documentation together of what they've seen in each classroom, and then the teacher is invited for feedback.
To minimise the disruption to a class, we try and keep it pretty much as part of the everyday program that's happening. In addressing staff reaction to learning walks, it's really just a matter of reassurance in the case of some of the hosts, for example, to reassure that it's more a snapshot of the learning and teaching that's happening, that it's a non-threatening observation as such. Our focus is really honing in on how students connect, collaborate and learn collectively and communicate using educational online spaces such as blogs. And we're looking at how the use of technology and online resources in our school engages, supports and enables our learners to learn in different ways. Would you like to think of an area that you'd like to focus on? I'll just go back to them here.
I might do the work samples if that's okay, student work samples.
I'm happy to do the walls and learning environment.
Okay.
I'll do the student talk.
Student talk.
The impact of the walkers on the actual class is very minimal. There's not much disruption to the class. They just have a look at what they need to see based on their particular focus. Occasionally they'll speak to some of the students about what it is that they're doing, but the impact is very minimal.
The observations are generally 10 minutes per classroom, and we're getting a snapshot of the learning and teaching that's happening in that particular class at the time. After that 10 minutes, 5 minutes is spent just reflecting and bringing the group together to talk about what it is that we've just seen. Alright guys, so we've just been into Emma's room and we each had our focus areas. So just a quick, this is the time where we just have a quick report to each other about what we've seen.
The children were explaining to me, I just had a bit of a talk, and they explained that they were using a blog to comment on their learning. They were replying to children's learning on there, so it became interactive.
So my focus was on student talk, and I sort of listened to them and inquired as to that a lot of them were doing research in there and then presenting it on PowerPoint. So I asked them, well, where do you get your information from? And they were able to elaborate and say, well, we use Kidsrex, Wikipedia, National Geographic for Kids.
I had a discussion with a couple of students about where they like to work, and different to the 5EC who would prefer to work on the ottomans and things, they preferred to work at tables because they found it a lot easier to work because they couldn't hold the laptops properly, which I just thought was very interesting.
The next part of the learning walk, after visiting 4 classes in today's case, is to have the teachers invited back to us to allow for them to put the context of what we'd just seen from their view. So they're presenting context. We may ask a clarifying question or two and have a wondering as to what is possible that a teacher may answer at that point of time or may answer at a later date. One thing that really stood out to us was what you mentioned about them finding or creating their own little tips and giving advice, and all those activities, the fish market and the fundraising game, really promoted that. It's effectively, would you say, a level of collaboration that's been really focused on in your class?
Yeah, so they're still working on that collaboration. They still need support and assistance and reminders that we are using the blog to collaborate, but they are becoming more independent in doing so. Learning walks have helped me personally as a teacher to be more reflective on my own practice through the times that I have been a host teacher. The times that I haven't been involved directly in a learning walk as either a host or a walker, I've found that reading the feedback letters that are provided are always really beneficial. They're made available to all staff following the learning walk based on what has been observed.
The feedback is non-judgmental but needs to be really focused. So it comes out as really observations that were seen across the classrooms, not necessarily within individual classrooms. So it's a fairly generalised feedback, but also the specific feedback is given to each individual teacher. So that makes it more relevant to the particular person. But at a school level, we want to see what improvement is happening over time for the things that we're focusing on, the areas that we're focusing on.
Learning walks are a way for us to get the big picture. In being a group that's walking in, we've got a structured way of looking at every aspect of what enriches the learning, what engages the children, what enables and supports them. And for the hosts, I suppose it's about giving us a snapshot of everyday learning and teaching that's happening.